Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can migrate your data from SQL Server to Azure Datalake storage. So essentially what we're going to be doing is first, we'll be creating our resources on Azure that will be needing to do this migration. And then we'll be doing a single migration of just a single table to show you how you could do that migration. And afterwards, we're going to be doing a batch migration, which is a bit more complex when you have a lot of tables you need to migrate using a consistent file path and all of that. We'll see how to use different activities on Azure Data Factory and have this completed. On my screen here, I have my script. I'm going to be using my CLI to just create my resources. If you want to know how to create it on Azure using the graphical interface, you can see my other video. I have a video that shows you how to create an Azure storage, but here I'm just going to be using this because of time. And I go to my Azure, open up my terminal, and once it's open, I'll right click on here and just say paste. That's good. I click on enter to create all of the resources that I need for this. Well, this is not a video to explain this, but just to say that everything that I need, I've specified it. This is the name of the resource group, this is the location, this is the name of the storage account I'm creating, and this is the data factory name I'm also creating. So with that out of the way, everything seems to have been created. I go to home, I'll come to my resource group, and on my resource group you can see the new resource that I've created. I'm just going to click on it and you're going to see it here, the YouTube tutorial I have open. I can open my storage account. On the storage account I have my data lake storage. I've got two containers that I created as part of what I have in the script, the bronze, the gold, and the silver. And the data migration that we typically do, or organizations typically do, is to have the data migrated and just dumped on the bronze, and every other data, every other cleaning you're going to do, any other kind of standardization, it goes to your gold and it goes to your silver, and later on you do some kind of aggregation and it goes to your gold, depending on your business use case. So let me come to my SQL Server. This is the server that I have. This is my SQL Server, and I've got the Adventure Walk 2017. The data I'm going to be using, I want to take it from the Adventure Walk 2017. I'm just going to open the tables, and for the first demo, let me go to sales. All right, click on this and select top 1000. This is the data I'm going to be migrating to my data lake storage. Let me go to the resources that I've created and come to my data factory. I launch my studio. So my data factory is open. I'll come to author and I'm going to be creating a pipeline. Create a pipeline. And on my right hand side, I'm going to give the pipeline a name and say single migration. This is just a single table I want to migrate. I'll go to the copy activity, just drag and drop this here, and I'm going to call it copy SQL table. This is the name I'm going to give it, and everything here seems fine. I'll just go to my source. The source is going to be create a data set which is coming from a SQL Server. Click on SQL. Good, continue. SQL Server table, I'm going to be giving it name, just say single migration, the same name I've been using. Linked service, we would need a linked service to be able to do this, and I'll be creating new. For my link service, I'm going to call this connect to SQL. This is the link service that we'll be using, and the runtime has to be a self-hosted integration runtime. I'll click on new. I won't be using Azure, I'll be going to self-hosted integration runtime. This is the runtime we're going to be creating because we are connecting to an on-prem, and to have that interaction between on-prem and the cloud, you will need the self-hosted integration runtime. I click on continue. Let me call this self-hosted integration runtime. Let's have this created. We could download this and do all of this, or we could just download expressly and have it installed. I'm going to be using the first option, which seems to be the easiest in this case. This has been downloaded. We'll just go and have it installed. Double click on this. And this will be done on the environment that you are using for where you have your SQL Server. So this tells me that a self-hosted integration runtime has been successfully installed. And I'm going to click on close. Just minimize this and close this as well. All I have to do here is to refresh. It tells me that this is active. I'm going to go to my server to get the name of my SQL Server, which is this. I'm just going to copy this, Ctrl+C. I come back to my browser. I just paste this here. What's the name of the database I'm going to be getting this data from? The database is my AdventureWorks 2017. All right, click on this and say rename just to copy this. Escape, go back to my portal and paste this here. And when I'm done, I'm just going to test my connection. Everything here seems fine. I'll click on create. When I'm done, I say, what table am I going to move? The table I said I was going to move I think the person table from sales. Yeah, not sure anymore. Let me just confirm that. I said I was going to be moving the salesperson table. Yes, salesperson. So the schema is sales and is salesperson. Yeah, they're stable. Good. Click on OK. This seems fine. What's my destination? The sink. I'll create a new data set. And on the new data set, this is going to a Gen2 storage. Continue. Parquet. Continue. And I'm going to call it single migration sync. Just have this together. Integration, my link service is going to be the Azure Datalake storage. I'll just leave it. The runtime is good and every other thing is fine. Authentication type is account key. Storage account name. This is my subscription. And everything here seems fine. I'm just going to test this. The connection is successful. I'm going to create. On the path, I'm going to browse. I want it to be on the bronze. I'll just click on OK. Every other thing here is good. I'm fine with it. Okay. And when we are done with that, I think we're pretty much okay. It's just to test this. I'm going to say publish all three. Yeah, so from here I could just say debug. And this is debugging, this is running, and it has completed. You can see successful. Here we see the input coming from my source, and here I have the sink, the data that is the output. If I want to confirm what has happened, I can go to my storage account, more space, bronze, and you can see the salesperson table has been migrated from SQL here to my Azure storage. So, but how do you do the bulk migration? This is good if you're going to do a single migration, but sometimes or oftentimes it's not just a single migration. You will have to do a bulk migration that's going to involve you moving all of the tables from one location to another. And for me to do that, I'm going to come here and just delete this. Let's have this deleted. Yes. And we're going to start on a clean slate, and I would create a new pipeline, call this batch SQL migration. Good. For me to do this, I'm going to be using an activity called lookup, and I'll call this look up tables. What am I going to be looking up? If you come to my SQL Server, I've got a script. This script, I'll just run it quickly. It's from 2017. I'll run this script. This script is giving me the schema name and the table name for all the tables I want to migrate. So I've got the name, I've got the schema name, select from this, and I've got all of these because I want to use for the sales schema. This is the table that I have. What I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this because I want to iterate through each of these. If I want every single table within my database, I could remove the where statement and just have everything copied. But because I want just for this, because of time, so it could be fast in processing, I'm going to be having the where clause. I will come to this place and I'll go to my settings. On my settings, I'm going to be creating a new data set, and the data set I'll be creating is a SQL data set. Call it SQL. It's an SQL data set. Continue. I'll call this my batch migration dataset. Link service, I'll be using the link service that I have already created that uses the self-hosted integration runtime. For the table name, I'm going to leave it as it is. I'm not going to specify any table because I want to go over it and do it dynamically. Click on OK. On the query side, I'm going to paste the script that I copied. It's going to be on this query. If I want to preview this, I'm going to use the preview. I can see the first data there, the first row of item. If I remove this first row only, I'm able to preview all of the schema and table that I want to migrate. I click on OK. Every other thing here seems fine for me. User property is fine. If I run this, okay, succeeded. This is my source. This is what is coming in, getting it from there, and you can see the output. So for this output, I have as my value, the count is 19. The value is the schema name and the name of the first table, and it goes like that. It kind of iterates through each of the table and the schema name and until everything is out. And this is what I'm going to be using for my for loop to create the next step. And the next step is going to be my for loop. For each, I'll just bring this here. I'll connect the onSuccess to my for loop. So for this for loop, let me just click on this and change it. Say for each table. So for each table, I'll go to my setting for the for loop. And on my item property, I'm going to be using an expression on this item property, and I will explain what the expression is doing. I'll say add dynamic content. I'll say look up tables, and this says, gives me the activity lookup tables, which is my lookup. It takes the lookup table and it takes the output that I showed you earlier. It takes that output, and on the output, I'm not interested in everything on the output. I'm only interested on the value. So I'll be using the value, which has the schema name and the table names, and I'll click on OK. And I've made these items dynamic in the sense that it takes the schema name and the table name for each of the table that I have within my data source. I'll go to activity property. On this activity, I'll click on this icon. What activity do I want to perform is to copy the table from the source to the destination. So it's a copy item. I'm going to say copy batch table. All right, just giving it any name comes to mind. What is my source? My source is a new data set, SQL. I'm creating a new data set. Batch table, data set. This is what I'm using, and I'll leave this the way it is. I won't create anything. Just click on OK. For the query, I'm going to be using a dynamic item. Because typically on the query, is to say select. I should be saying select all from the first table, or the schema and the first table. If I don't make this dynamic, if it's hard coded, I'm going to be only selecting from one table. But because I want it dynamic, it's going to say select the schema name, the first table. It iterates back again, select the schema name, the second table, and it goes for each of them until it completes every single table I have on that source. So with this completed, I'm just going to click on OK. Now I've made my query dynamic. I'm not copying a single table, and on the query is going to be dynamic, iterating through each of the tables on my source. And I think I'm fine with everything here. I'll go to my sink. I'm going to be creating my data set. This is going to my Gen2 and it's going to be saved as a package file. Here I'm going to call it package batch sync. I already have my Azure Datalake storage, and I'm going to leave this the way it is, but just to note here that I want it to go to my bronze layer. So I click on my bronze and just click on OK. Click on OK here. The next thing we're going to do is to create a parameter here. I go to my parameters, I create a new parameter, call it my schema name, and I create another one, I call it my table name. The schema name and the table name, and when I'm done with that, I can come back to my batch SQL migration, and I see the both schema that I have. On each schema, what is going to be the schema name? Schema name is going to be dot schema name. Okay. The table name is also going to be for each of the item dot table name. Click on OK. Yeah, with this off the way, the next thing is going to be to determine the path that I want the data to be. The path structure that I want, when I come to connection, I want the structure to be the name of the container, the name of the table and the schema, the name of the table, and then the file name. To do this, I'm going to add dynamically, come to this place. So it's going to be, I will concatenate my data set schema name, that is the parameter that I have, and also going to add it to my data set table name. So with this, I'm going to click on OK. What is going to be the file name then? Add dynamically, the file name is going to be this. The name of the table dot package is going to be the name of the file. So I'm just going to click on OK. So with this off the way, I can come back to this place and I have all of this defined. I go to my source, everything is fine as well. I can come back to my batch migration. This looks fine. What I can do from here is to publish all. Publish all, then I say add trigger, and I can just say trigger now. Let's see what happens. Okay, you can simply go to your monitoring to be able to monitor what is happening on that end. This is just starting, it's running. So I can refresh this, click on your batch SQL migration to see that this is queued, this is in progress. Once this is completed, it goes to the next stage and it goes to the next stage and all of that. I can simply refresh this. So you can see that everything here has successfully run. And if you want to do any kind of inspection, you can see what the output was for each of this. You see what the output is for this. And I can just close this, go back to my pipeline. And so my pipeline is confirmed, everything succeeded. If I should go to my Azure storage, I refresh this. You can see that my sales table has been migrated to my bronze layer. And if I should click on this sales table on the folder, you will see all the different tables that have been created. You see the folders for each of those tables. And if I click on anyone, I say maybe currency, you can see my package file there. And this has been successfully migrated. I'm going to leave the script on my GitHub repo. You can just pick it up from there. If you want to create it automatically, you can pick it up from there. But if you want to create your resources using the graphical interface, you can always do that. Try this, let me know how it goes, and I hope you have a blast one. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.